It's like, I don't understand. What do you mean the priest didn't show up? Like, is that like a big deal? How do I get back in there? Everyone's like kneeling down praying, and Shannon's just kind of in there by herself, and like, I don't want to leave her there for the rest of the day. Like, I'll just wait. Go to Catholic church by myself on Christmas. I was like, I think this is a pretty big day in, like, the Catholic church, right? I was like, I don't think God cares if you wear sweatpants to midnight mass.
Welcome to the Exposing Catholic show, where we expose the live stories and interactions of Catholics. Our guests today are Mike and Shannon. Welcome on.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Of course.
We made it.
Yeah, thanks for having us in your humble abode. So, can you talk to us, first starting with Mike, what did your childhood look like growing up and your faith in...
My childhood.
Tell us about your childhood.
So back in 1995 when I was born, let's see. I grew up Methodist. My mom was Methodist, but my dad was Catholic. So they decided to raise a Methodist family, which I don't know if my dad really had a choice in that. My mom decided we were going to be raised Methodist, and we went to Brexel United Methodist Church, and that's the church I grew up in. But I did the whole, Vacation Bible School and Sunday services and all that stuff until probably like middle school. And then I just kind of stopped going to church. And then I kind of hit college, and they asked me to play drums at the church. So I started going to church again just to, like, participate. And then I completely stopped going to church. And now we are getting married in July, and we were kind of church shopping. And I got a job at the Brexel United Methodist Church. And we kind of thought we were going to get married there at first. And then we went to St. Basil, and just like that church a lot better because Shannon grew up Catholic. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's my whole, religious story. I didn't really grow up too religious, but I definitely didn't grow up not religious, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like you went to church on Sunday, and like that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what did my grandma say the other day? She said something about like my great-grandfather founded like a Methodist church, which I had literally no idea about. As we're getting married in a Catholic church, I was like, I wish I would have known that before we started, talking about getting married in a Catholic church. But it seems like the Catholic Church knows what they're talking about. And yeah, it's been a fun experience, honestly. Meetings with Father Liptak and all that stuff. So,
well, good.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're enjoying.
I'm enjoying myself. I also go in with the mindset where what did I say the other day in one of the meetings? And this is gonna sound ridiculous, but it was like, did Jesus know he was God when he was growing up, or was it like a Superman situation? And Father Liptak looked at me like, what? And I was all like, like Superman grew up and then he like found out he had powers. Did Jesus grow up and then like one day like turn water into wine and just knew he was Jesus?
What the heck?
Yeah, right? So that's kind of, I feel like I'm going into the Catholic Church with a little bit of an open mind, but like open thoughts, and probably should close my mouth a little bit too when those questions come out. But
so much honesty.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hold the mics closer to your face? And before we get into yours, Shannon, can we dive a little bit more into what did the family dynamic look like? Because I'm interested in your dad being Catholic and your mom being Methodist. Like, did he go to church with you guys, or?
So my dad grew up my dad grew up Catholic. Both his parents were Catholic, and he grew up. He went to Catholic church. I think he said even in college, and then he met my mom. And they started, I think, diving into Methodist church a little bit. He started going on, like, Methodist retreats and stuff like that. And then he started just going to church with us. So I didn't necessarily grow up knowing my dad was Catholic. It wasn't really anything that was talked about. But, like, if you walked into my parents' room, like, my dad had a couple rosaries hanging, like, on his dresser, or like there's like little hints around the house that like my dad was Catholic, but it wasn't something that was like talked about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Jeez.
So they kind of decided, like, this is how we're raising the kids, so he didn't...
Yeah. I think that I think that's kind of what happened. It was just like my mom grew up Methodist, my grandparents were Methodist, and Methodist church was 1.5 miles up the street.
Mm-hmm.
Can I chime in?
Yeah, go for it.
Something when I met his dad, and I love that that's one thing that I usually tell people is, oh yeah, hi, I'm Shannon. Yeah, I'm Catholic. It's something that like easily slips into a conversation. But that's what his dad, he told me that, he's not really practicing, but he's Catholic. He's always going to be Catholic. And I think, that's shown through like the sacraments. Like you can't take anything back. Like if you're confirmed, you're in the Catholic Church. But something that your dad told me, that when we decided to get married in the Catholic Church compared to the Methodist Church, at the time, and I'm not sure what your mom's perspective is on this, but I remember they wanted to get married in the Catholic Church, or at least have a priest at their ceremony, but his dad wasn't affiliated with a parish, or for some reason the church wouldn't allow it to happen. And granted, this was back in the 80s, so I'm sure there has been a lot of changes, but I do know that your dad did want to have some sort of Catholicism in like their union. So I have to give your dad a little shout out there.
Oh, absolutely. Which, interesting enough, so my sister got married, I don't know how many years ago.
16 years ago.
16 years ago to Anthony, but Anthony, he grew up Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember at their wedding ceremony, they got married at the Rexall United Methodist Church, but they also had a Catholic priest come out and do a, they had a Catholic priest come out to their wedding and I think give like a blessing or something, or like participate in the ceremony in some way, which that's kind of interesting. So yeah,
cool. And Shannon, what about you?
Okay, so winding back to the time of 1997, so I grew up in a very standard like Irish Catholic household where you say grace at each dinner. At some point my dad would bring up the famine to talk about how to be grateful for things, and it was always, my childhood was definitely based in knowing your history, whether it's the history of the church and then history of your family, which made, relying on God very centric to my childhood, knowing about my ancestry and just knowing like life was not always easy, that brings in highlighting God. But yeah, so I was raised Catholic at St. Ambrose, whoop whoop, in Garrettsville, Ohio, very small parish, very good parish. And then I went to Hiram College, and we were having some struggles with the church with the priest shortage. And I know at that time we had a new priest come in, and my parents didn't vibe with him for whatever reason. And we started going to a new parish, St. Joe's, and I'd say probably like my upperclassmen years throughout college, I just stopped thinking like I'm getting something out of church, where like now I know that's so silly to think about. But I started becoming more secular, I guess, thinking like, and now looking back, it's more of me connecting with the Holy Spirit. But for some reason, like turning away from Jesus, thinking like I don't need him in my life. Like I'm 20 years old. I know what I'm doing. It's so funny. Like knock on wood. Yeah. So I went through that point in my life, and I just distanced myself from the church, and I looked at all the bad things that you hear about, all the negative things. And I just used that as fuel to be upset with the church and kind of get away without really looking at why I'm trying to find those feelings, why I'm trying to justify like feeling not great towards the church. And then I met Michael.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
And a year later, we lived in, what was it? We moved in together, and then we moved in with your parents at a time. And at that point, we were engaged, and we were originally thinking, we don't need a church wedding. We don't need anything. We just need to get married. And I remember thinking that just felt so hollow, and that I felt like I was missing something in my life. And of course, even when we would go on vacation with my family, for every holiday, I'll go to mass with my parents. Like, that's something where I'd always say, oh, I'm Catholic, and I'll participate. But I never really tried connecting. I never really tried getting involved with mass. And when it came time to find a church, I remember we started going to Brecksville United Methodist because I missed God. I missed connecting with Scripture. And I remember going and thinking, like, this is nice. This is cool. This is pretty. It was an outdoor ceremony or an outdoor service. And I remember going, thinking, like, oh, this is cool. Like, oh, you believe in the Trinity. I believe in the Trinity as well. You have an Our Father, a little different than mine, but that's, that's cool. The same author. But I remember after a couple services, I just felt like this is great. But I'm missing something. I'm missing the Scripture. I'm missing the tradition. Mm-hmm. And that's when I went to St. Basil's, and I started church hopping by myself because Michael would work on Sundays. So I remember calling up my cousins and seeing, like, hey, are you guys going to Mass on Sunday? Can I come with you? I went to St. Joe's by myself. I went to St. James. And I feel like having those moments of where I would just go by myself, and that was the biggest fear that I had, was at times, like throughout like my young 20s, I would think, like, I really want to go to Mass. I really want to go connect with God. I really want to go just be in the presence of the Eucharist. And I remember thinking, and I know this was not God talking in my head, this doubts of, oh, you can't go by yourself. You've never been to this parish. Why? People are going to look at you weird. People aren't going to want you there. You're not allowed to be there. And ever since, and this is so cheesy, but ever since I started going to Mass, and Michael comes along with me, and you do a great job. We sing the hymnals together and everything. Ever since I started going again, I find myself crying at some point, just because I can't believe how much I missed going to Mass and having that moment with our Creator. And it just feels like when you go to your grandma's house or like someone you haven't seen in a really long time, and you just, the front porch light is on. You get to come in, they offer you a cup of tea, and it's like nothing ever changed. It's like you're welcome in with open arms.
That's such a good analogy. That's so good.
Thank you. Yeah, sponsored by the Tea Lab in Lakewood, Ohio. Kidding. I'm so kidding. I'm so kidding. I wish they would. They have great tea. But yeah, so that's kind of our journey so far, just reconnecting and finding purpose, and not feeling like growing up, and this is something I connect with my cousins who are a couple of years older than me, where growing up Catholic, and I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but you learn everything from like your parents or your youth group teachers. And it's kind of like you go in and you do it because it's what you're told to do. It's what your community does. And then when you get out into the real world by yourself, it kind of feels like you're Nemo, like you're off the reef and you're in the water. It's like, okay, now I got to go follow. Like, I have to do this on my own. I have to find a way. And then like you actually have the choice to like look up things on your own and join groups, and it's very cool. But
yeah, you're definitely not alone. I feel the same way. And I know a lot of other people do too.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I want to know, like, what kind of made you, like, you're in college, and is it just because, I don't know, you're a college kid, church is not cool, whatever. Like, what specifically made you drift away from the Catholic Church during that time?
We've got something special for all our Catholic organizations. Now, before you skip past this part, it's not an ad. It's more like an incredible opportunity to take your digital presence to the next level. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret here. Something only for our podcast listeners. We, DM Productions, have a 2-day Catholic social media makeover course. It's an online course specifically made for Catholic organizations. It will take your social media to the next level. And we make it easier than ever with our step-by-step video walkthroughs, cheat sheets, customizable templates, and more. Catholic organizations, let's start creating the quality and results that secular businesses have, but with the depth and beauty of Catholicism. Oh, and did I mention the price? $700. But remember I said I was going to let you in on a little secret? Use code DMPodcast to get it completely free. No credit card required. Just pop that code in and you're all set. Head over to www.dm.productions/social media makeover or click the link in the description. Now back to the show.
I think definitely the people I was surrounding myself with. You know, I went to a liberal arts school and I love the liberal arts. I love looking at religion from, you know, different perspectives to try to understand other people. And, you know, I mean, hey, I got to take a dance class as like one of the requirements to graduating. That was so fun. But yeah, I think at the time, for one thing, the big thing was surrounding myself with people who, it was more self-centric, and it's more of, what am I getting out of this? What does my day look like? What are other people doing? You know, kind of looking at nature and seeing how beautiful nature is, but not seeing who created nature. And then also a really big thing before I met Michael, I was in a really bad relationship. I was in a very emotionally abusive, financially abusive relationship. And I felt like this is where I'm stuck and I can't find a way out. And in that relationship, I started like alienating myself from all of like my family, my friends. And I guess that's kind of where I found this hole. And I remember wanting to like start going to mass again. But then this person, like not being a great influence, telling me like, you're not Catholic. Like you don't believe in God anymore. And then I have the ignorance to think, you know what, you're right. I guess I don't. And just being around those people really shifted and made me feel like, oh, I guess you're right. Like I didn't trust myself. And yeah,
that's really difficult.
Definitely a time. I'm glad I have grown up quite a bit. But yeah, it is. If I could suggest to anyone in college to join like the Newman Center, I wish I would have been in that group where there are people that, I mean, I always thought that I was judged, like I wasn't a good enough Catholic, you know? And now looking back, like that's so not true. Like there are people out there who genuinely just want what's best for you and to just vibe together. Wow, I'm trying to not show my age. But yeah, it was tough. It was very difficult, I think.
I mean, what I've noticed with especially people our age and like in college is, you know, you are Catholic and you go to church every Sunday, you're involved in youth group, whatever, and then you graduate and you go to college and you're on your own, and it's like, oh, I just went because my family went. Now they're not with me, so I can do whatever I want. And they don't have that purpose. And then they're like, I'm just depressed and alone, and I'm really, really missing that. But that leads them to like look stuff up for themselves, and then they like come back to the church, you know, with more knowledge than they had before, and with like such a deeper love and understanding of the church that was there the whole time.
Right.
Like, but it's just like a newfound appreciation for it. But it's been there the whole time. You just didn't realize it. And I think like being cradle Catholic, you just take advantage of that.
I love that term.
You just take advantage of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but
Well, I just think a common thread is that you grow up with all of these traditions and things that you're supposed to do within the faith, and then there's a point in time where
there's no
you start
explanation.
thinking for yourself.
Yeah.
You're like, why are we doing these things? You start asking the questions. And I think it's huge, a common theme that we've had in interviewing couples. We've had a few on the podcast, and there's this point in time where it's like an isolation period where you need to be kind of like separated from these different groups that you're involved in, and then you can truly start to dive into what you're, you know, the questions you want to ask, so that people aren't pulling you back to like, you're supposed to be over here in this group. You can actually think for yourself and gather the information you're actually looking for.
Yeah.
So I think
I'm just
that's
glad that
huge.
we're not alone in that.
Right? I feel like especially So my one cousin is getting ready to go to college, and she's like picking out some of her choices. And one of them is I think it's St. Mary's. It's this private college down in Maryland. And that's the one thing that I would be so excited if she was able to go to that school, where my cousin, another one of my cousins, I come from an Irish family. I have a lot of cousins. But one of my cousins went to Mercyhurst. And that was something she loved about her college experience, was she could take these theology classes, like based on the Bible. And she would be able to go to mass and like throughout the week. And there are all of these people who are young and in their 20s, and they're college kids. They're going to go, they did ultimate frisbee. That was like their big thing. But like there's all of these people you're surrounding yourself with that are in the same situation as you, and you can share your struggles and not have, ideally you wouldn't have as much doubt, or you wouldn't have those people come in that would try to lead you astray in a way, where I feel like at the school I went to, being religious was like not the thing. Like that was not the popular thing you wanted to do. And I feel like if I'd done more research, then maybe I feel like I might have had a different outcome, but then maybe I wouldn't have. And I'm glad with my relationship now with God and where I am, that, you know, I went through these hard times, but now I can maybe understand what my cousin might potentially be going through. And so I can use my experiences to help maybe give her advice on keeping her faith. But who knows? You know, God works in mysterious ways, right?
Yeah.
No, I think that a huge thing, we were just talking about this with Michael Suso this morning, was that we have moved from Christendom to apostolic mission, which is, so before we were in Christendom, which is just like society and all of the main structures kind of lined up. Like they're kind of like, people had the general same morals and values, and those types of things matched.
Like you can assume like, oh, that other person, they're obviously a Christian. Like we can talk about things politically and we wouldn't be like fighting about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not in that anymore. But I think you can explain.
So yeah, now we're in apostolic mission, which is basically what the apostles were in. It's society has more influence, and they're way different. So we have to go out instead of like the church they just kind of come, and it's like self-sustaining from within. Now we have to go out as apostles to go do this. And I think that's where you're kind of seeing that in the colleges and like those types of decisions that you have to make.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That makes sense. Wow.
And they're like really, the church is focusing their teachings and like evangelization on that, because if you preach to people in a way that like they already know about this stuff, you know, it's not going to resonate with people because they don't know that stuff. And so now like you meet them where they're at, and like just as a person, and invite them in. So yeah.
Wow. What a time, man.
Yeah. Okay. I want to know how you guys met and like how your relationship started.
Go for it. Yeah, that's all you.
So I had recently found out that I was lactose intolerant, and growing up in a small town of Garrettsville, Ohio, the Save-A-Lot we used to go to, or the IGA, didn't really have like milk alternatives. So this leads me to go to Aldi, and while I'm at Aldi, can you close the door too, please? I'm freezing. I was trying to knock on him, like just push the door closed. Okay, sorry about that. All right, my feet were becoming blue. Hey guys. Okay, can I hop back in?
Aldi.
So you're at Aldi.
All right. So, well, we met when I went to Aldi to find this milk alternatives, because I found out I'm lactose intolerant, like 60% of the United States anyways. So there are plenty of people who know my pain. But I go in and I'm looking at like almond milk, and then I think there was oat milk. I think there was like coconut milk too. But I'm just standing there and I'm like, I'm on my phone, not aware of my surroundings. And I'm just trying to figure out like, okay, what should I get? What do I need to buy? And this cute guy comes up and he's like, hey, excuse me, can I just get in here? And I'm like, oh, sure. Hi. Oh, you're getting oat milk. Why are you getting oat milk? I'm lactose intolerant. Are you lactose intolerant? Like, how do your... I brought up something about, like, how... When you dunk your Oreos, like, will the milk, like, saturate the cookie like regular cow's milk would? I just start going at
So
this,
many questions.
this
I mean,
poor customer.
Yeah. I just went in to get some milk, and that's all I needed.
And he left with a phone number. I left with a phone number because I was asking him, like, well, can I text you about, like, any more questions I might have? Yeah, still to this day, I wish I had my phone on me. I'd show you. Under your name card, your contact card, it's Michael Pace oat milk. Yeah. So, yeah. And then later that evening, I had a cookout with all of my friends for this Gaelic sport that I play. And I'm telling them all about this cute guy that I met at the store. And, like, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And they were all saying, like, oh, well, invite him out. So I called him, which I never call people. I'm one of those people in our generation where texting is the only way I'll talk to you. I called him up. He came out. All of my friends, like 20 of my friends, were just... kind of like
I got a call and it was like, hey, like, we're down at Edgewater, like, do you want to come out? I was like, well, like, I'm sitting on the couch playing video games. Sure, like, I will go hang out with the cute girl and all of her friends down at the park. That sounds great. Count me in. So I hopped in my car, went down to Edgewater, and yeah.
I think we had like a 5-hour phone call later that night, and we were just sending each other pictures of, like, okay, here's my family, here's these snippets from my Facebook. And I'm so glad you did not turn out to be a serial killer.
Thank you. So that'd be a tough life to live.
Oh my gosh.
So thankfully, you were actually a really nice guy.
Thanks. Yeah,
and here we are.
How long ago was that?
Like
how long have you guys?
A year and a half.
Like a year and a half or so. Yeah, we got engaged a little bit before our 1 year. And
we got engaged in, was it August?
August, yeah.
So we got engaged, and
I need to hear that story too.
Yeah. So I proposed on family vacation with her family. We went to Myrtle Beach.
Did they know?
Oh, yeah. I'm not very good at keeping secrets. So I got the ring. I called her mom. I had to have the fun conversation with her dad of, like, hey, do you mind if I marry your daughter? That went well. We had a good time. We were looking at a house at the time too. So it was like, so we might be investing in this house, and also, like, talking about, like, big commitments. Like, would it be okay if your daughter lived in this house with me if we bought it? And, like, we should probably be married if that happens. So we had that fun talk, and we drove down, and
12 hours,
12-hour drive down to Myrtle Beach. We got there, and it was the first night, wasn't it? First or second night?
I think it was the second night, and I remember my mom saying something. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, all good.
My mom was saying something about how, like, you couldn't wait. Like, it was supposed to be at the end of the trip, but apparently you had
I wanted to get it done so we could enjoy our vacation.
Yeah.
So we went out to dinner. We went to what was it?
A Brazilian steakhouse.
Love
those things. Yeah,
so good.
Big fan.
We got back to the condo hotel, wherever we were staying, and I think you went upstairs to drop our leftovers off or drop something off. We had dessert, which I think your mom ate. She dropped it off upstairs, and I, like, went and parked the car because we parked down the street. And I got back, and I was like, oh, well, I don't see Shannon down here. So I took the stairs up while she took the elevator down. And I got back up to the room, and I was all like, oh, is Shannon up here? And her dad looked at me, and it's like, she's downstairs. Like, hurry up. Like, get down there. So I went down there, and then we walked to the beach. But I hired her cousin to take our engagement photos, surprise engagement photos, under the pier. And we got on the beach, started walking down, and then we hit the pier, and I did not see her cousin, who was supposed to be under the pier taking our photo. So I was like, oh, let's just keep walking down. And I think we made it, like, 35 steps, like, past the pier, and then she saw her cousins sitting on the porch.
I love it.
Because they all knew.
So this family trip, all right, just so you know, my family, we all go down. So all like my one bank of my cousins, one section of my family tree, they're all sitting on the balcony. They're in their first floor too. So it looks like, if you can imagine, just someone looking out and just watching the waves, but it's like 8 people just sitting there staring out, and we turn and they're looking at us.
And she's like, "Oh, look, all my cousins. We should go say hi."
Yeah,
I'm
let's
like,
go
"No,
over. Let's hang out."
Let's just go the other way."
I'm waving at them. They're
Yeah.
ignoring me. Like, I can see you. Like, Colleen.
I'm like, "Yeah, we haven't gone to the other side of the pier. We should probably go check that out. Like, let's go."
Yeah.
So finally, we turned around.
Turn around.
And we got under the pier, and her cousin finally popped out from like under the pier, and I proposed.
And then next thing you know, because I didn't know my family knew, I turn around to look up and see my my parents on the balcony, because that's where they usually go on vacation. And I look up, my mom has these giant binoculars, and she's staring down at us. And I just remember yelling, "Don't go to dinner, I have news." Yeah, and then we went upstairs, and they popped the cheap champagne we bought for mimosas, and yeah,
it was a good time.
it was a good time.
Were you surprised?
Oh
Like,
my
did you know
gosh.
it all?
I had an inkling.
I'm not very
But-
good at keeping secrets. She definitely knew, I think.
At one point, I remember him asking, just a random text one day, he said, "Do you like sapphires? Just wondering." I was like, "Oh, what? I mean, they're fine, I guess." Yeah, but I'm allergic to nickel, so like, please make
Don't
sure
buy me
that's
cheap
cool.
earrings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I wasn't expecting on vacation, but I do remember when you got down on your knee to propose, I would not stop yelling, "Is this happening? Is this happening? This is happening? This is happening. You're doing it. You're doing." I don't even think you were able to get anything in.
No, I wasn't.
I think you.
I was like,
stood
"Yeah,
up.
it's happening. I mean, do you want to marry me?" It's like, "Is this happening?" It's like, I don't know if you heard what I asked. Like, do you want to marry me? Like, is this? Yeah, it's happening if you want it to happen.
Yeah.
Like,
I think my cousin finally came over, and you were saying something like, "Did you say yes?"
I was like, all I heard was, "Is this happening?" I don't think I got a definite yes from you, which is a problem because the ring's already on your finger. So, yeah.
Oh, it was good. It was a fun time, though.
Yeah.
Well, we were down there for about a week. So every day before we would go out to the beach, though, because we stayed with my parents, my brother and his girlfriend, and then Michael and I. And every person would check, "I do not have my ring on me," before we go to the beach. It was just, "Hey, Shannon, yeah, you're getting coffee? You're not wearing your ring, are you? Hey, we're going down. Shannon, don't wear your ring." And it was a very fun vacation
don't
to
lose your
not
ring on the
lose
beach on
my ring.
vacation.
So, yeah, it was good.
God.
Yeah.
Good time.
Yeah, good time.
You went all out for the proposal.
I'm a prepper.
Yeah, what'd you guys do?
So-
How'd it
Oh my
happen?
Not a
gosh.
prepper.
You
Watch
can explain it.
YouTube videos, like best
Wow.
practices, top tips, like what's going on. Because I don't know. They say like you black out, you don't really know what you said, so you got to memorize it. Now I'm freaking out. I got to memorize this thing.
They said you black out when you ask? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like, you just go
Like, you
numb.
don't
You
really
don't know what
remember.
you're saying.
You're like,
Oh.
it's
Yeah,
just,
it's a stage
Eh,
fright.
I get it
right?
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, so how did you propose? I want to hear now.
Yeah, so I go through all these videos. I'm writing this stuff down, and I'm trying to memorize it. I kind of did, but then it kind of fell apart. It just went in the way it was supposed to, I guess. But I had her family and my family in like a metro park. You can rent these little places. So they were hanging out there to have dinner afterwards. And leading up to it, since I'm not good at keeping secrets and she doesn't like surprises, I had to decoy some dates. So we went to like these fancy things that she thought I was going to propose.
yeah, I was like, it was such
Wow.
a fancy 5-star dinner, and I was like, oh, it's happening right now. Like, I'm so excited, and it didn't happen. I was like, it's okay. Like,
And thank goodness we
He
had
also
those, because the blindfold, she would not.
blindfolded me.
She hated
to
the
It's like an
blindfold.
hour away, and I'm in this blindfold.
'Cause
It
I
keeps
want-
slipping down.
I wanted it to happen at a special place.
Yeah.
So you
Anyways.
needed to be blindfolded.
Yes, I understand the reason, but it was very annoying. And I was like, this is hurting my head. Like, it's such a long drive. Like, can I just take it off, and you.
That was it was just
that was
really
the first
frustrating.
blindfold. So then he bought a more comfortable blindfold for the actual proposal, so I wouldn't complain.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyways, you can keep telling it.
Yeah, so your family and my family's there, and earlier in the day, on the day of proposal, I am setting up this arch with my dad at the Servants of Mary Center for Peace, which is the biggest statue of Mary of Guadalupe in the world.
Yeah,
Wow.
I worked there when I was little. Like it's
And like on our third date or something.
and I took
she
him there on
me
my
there.
third date, and that's where we had our wedding reception too.
Oh.
It's
that's
like
so
just a
nice.
very special place for
Yeah, so
me.
it's supposed to be this whole roundabout,
Yeah.
full circle moment.
Yeah.
And so I also needed to record it, so I had to hide the fact that I put on a mic and like
I told him, I was like,
stuffed it
when
in my
you
pocket.
propose, I need it video recorded, and I want to, because I want to remember it. And so that was just a little added challenge for
So
you.
you didn't see the mic, you didn't see anything prepped. There was a camera in the back,
Yeah.
all good. So you're blindfolded, and you know the streets pretty well. So
Yeah.
I'm just going in random little like
It's
for
like supposed
45
to be
minutes.
a 10-minute, 15-minute drive. It's like an hour.
Oh my gosh.
Like
Oh,
he's
that's
waiting
awesome.
for the sunset to go down, like a perfect.
the timing had to be
and, like,
good.
all of this
A
stuff
hostage
is
situation.
for real.
Yeah.
And like they're texting you, like, where are you at? And you're still driving, and it's not like I can text them.
Yeah, I was trying to time the whole like dinner thing with with the sun going down and making sure everything looked good while also not letting the food get totally messed up.
And keeping it a surprise for me. Like
Mhm.
it's also like January 29th is when you propose, so it's a sheet of ice on the ground.
Jeez.
Like
Oh, great.
super icy, and the way to get out there's a pathway, and it's just like
You have to walk
shoveled.
pretty far.
And I was in heels, and he's just like grabbing me. I'm also blindfolded, and he has the tripod and the camera.
You didn't know I had the
mic'd
tripod
up,
on the other
because it
hand.
was snowing a little bit. So he's like, "I'll get the umbrella out of the back." There was no
Oh, that's
umbrella. It was
clever.
a tripod. And
But it was
Yeah.
perfect because there was a ton of snow a couple weeks before, and then it melted, and I was like, oh, "What? It's not going to look that good."
but it
like, it's
rained,
all muddy.
and then it turned into a sheet of ice.
Yes.
Oh.
So, it was like
all
kind
muddy,
of melted,
but then
but also frozen.
on the day of, it didn't even say it was supposed to snow, and it was just like slightly for
Oh,
for the
that's
mood.
Yeah.
Oh,
There you
there
go.
And then we walked back there. I pretended I had to tie my shoe. I don't really wear shoes that have shoelaces on them.
Yeah, he's
so
like, "Oh, I have to fix my shoe." I was like, "You don't have shoelaces."
I was setting up the
What
tripod.
is this?
Setting up the drive. Good cover. Yeah.
And then I was like, "Okay, something's
I
happening."
don't know.
Obviously.
Like, what else would I have to let go of your hand for? So, like, I'm
I
setting.
don't know. Yeah.
So I set it up, and then I'm getting all nervous and walk over.
Yeah, you
there.
like gave me a hug awkwardly, but right before you took my blindfold off, you were like, "I don't know what to do right now."
Well, because now
me
it's
a
go
hug.
time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, jeez. All this other stuff it was easy to do the lead up. Now I actually have to say the words that I practiced. And then we said it, and then we had dinner.
I said yes.
Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
good.
Okay, I was
I
going
said
to say
yes.
that's the big
Also,
part.
like the woman who owns the shrine is like, and your dad and mom and sister are like hiding in the barn trying to look.
The barn is freezing, by the way. There's no heat or anything.
Oh, that's nice
and they're
of
just
them.
peeking through the cracks.
Wow. Oh, gosh.
Yeah. And
Totally
so,
would not look creepy.
yeah, then
at
they
all.
have to clean up all of the stuff and get over to the second surprise, which was like the, I guess,
The dinner.
engagement party.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was a lot of moving parts, but it was like super
Mhm.
amazing and something I'm never gonna forget.
That's good.
Aw.
Actually, I can show you a picture. You can keep talking and I'll show them a picture.
Okay. I don't know what else to talk about.
What's up?
How you doing?
Hey. Come here often.
This is what it looks like.
Oh,
Oh,
that is
wow.
amazing. Good job. Wow. Oh, that is so cute.
Yeah.
Aw.
Very nice.
Oh, and before you like took me out in the car,
I beat you at Mario Kart.
yeah, you beat me at Mario Kart, and then he also made a video, because it was like our 6-month anniversary or something like that, and it was
yeah.
just like, "Oh, I love you," like, "happy anniversary," and then it made
Not
me
knowing
cry.
that I would then add the proposal
Add the
video
proposal.
to that video.
So if you want to see it, it's on our
Nice.
Instagram. You can see the video. It'll make you cry.
Let's go back to the beach.
Yeah, right.
But
Wow.
yeah, that's our little engagement story.
Oh, very
Wow,
nice.
that's so cute. Love it. Aww.
I still don't like surprises though, even though you're really good at them.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, when did you guys start talking faith in the relationship?
Oh man. So when we met, I don't think, because you weren't like.
Are you
even
lactose
practicing.
intolerant? Are you lactose intolerant and
And,
Catholic?
So oat milk, also Jesus.
That's gonna be the title.
Yeah. Oh, oat milk, Jesus. You weren't really practicing at the time.
Yeah, I was still definitely very secular. I think, or I don't even want to say I was like secular. It was more of I was afraid to go back to church. I think when we met, I was working on moving to Lakewood. I lived in Canton at the time. I was getting out of this really bad relationship. It was a great time to meet someone.
Yeah.
Which that's what I love telling people, that I feel like God works in just such unbelievably just mysterious yet like just kind of funny ways, where like I remember telling myself, and of course the old quote where, what, like, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans. That's like, after I got out of this relationship, I'm taking time for myself. I'd always wanted to move to Cleveland, so I'm making that step. I'm trying to do like this big thing on my own. And I decide I don't want to date anyone right now. I don't want to meet anyone. I just want to work on myself. I just
Good
want to
luck
figure
with
out what
that.
I'm doing. And then I meet a guy that I just can't stop talking to. And I feel so safe with. I think we seriously started talking about faith when we were engaged. And I
Yeah.
remember because growing up, like my parents, my dad converted to Catholicism, and my dad, he's sometimes, and my mom will agree to this, sometimes my dad is more on the Catholic guidelines than my mother is sometimes, who was raised Catholic. But growing up and seeing how my parents used their faith to raise my brother and I really admired that. And I loved that about my childhood, using the tradition, using Mass, using the community to sort of learn about the world and learn how you're supposed to act as a human. And then not only doing God's work, but just living as an ordinary person, dealing with the stressors of life. Like, that was something I really admired. And when we were talking about getting married, I remember thinking that I only want to get married once.
Yeah.
That's the goal, right? We can agree on that.
Yeah, we can absolutely agree on that. Which,
That's it.
before I proposed, we went to Mass that morning, right?
Oh my goodness. And okay,
So-
so this the first time this has
go for
ever
it.
happened. At least to my mom, who has been Catholic for 60 something years, devout Catholic. The priest didn't show up. Yeah, like we had the
I have never heard of
Yeah.
Yes. We waited, I think it was about 20 minutes, and the deacon comes up and he announces that they've been trying to get in contact with the priest, and they're worried, but we're sure everything's going to be okay. Today counts as your Sunday obligation. And what they have, I was calling it like the pre-cooked Eucharist, but they brought out whatever, like the remaining Eucharist that they had, and they gave, like, they read a bit of the scripture, and the deacon, I loved his homily, because it was just love one another. The world would be a better place if we just loved one another. That's it. Just fill your heart with love and go out, because who can get angry with that? What angry parishioner is going to come up and say, I didn't like that? You know? So it was a very, like, politically savvy one. But growing up, my dad was a Eucharistic minister, and so when we heard that the priest was unavailable to attend, I was like nudging my dad, like in the pew in front of us. I was like, Dad, it's go time. Call an audible. Get up there. Did not happen, thankfully. But yeah, Our Lady of the Sea in Myrtle Beach, in Cherry Grove, North Myrtle Beach. I used to go there every year. Well, every 2 Sundays for well, 2 Sundays of every year for the past 20 something years. That was my vacation church. Yeah, the day, yeah, and that was remarkable.
I guess going on vacation, I knew I'd be going to mass, and at that point, I was not. I don't want to say I wasn't for it. I mean, I went.
I don't think we started talking about what Catholicism was.
We really didn't start even talking about religion until, we talked about religion, but it wasn't like a serious topic until after we were engaged.
Yeah.
Which was like, it was nice. I still like having conversations with you about religion in the car, and, kind of debating back and forth. But I think it was just interesting that, like, the day we got engaged, like, the priest didn't show up to church.
It was just a very like, oh, this is happening. Okay, so is this grabbing your attention? All right, let's keep talking about this.
Yeah.
What is mass?
It's like, I don't understand. What do you mean the priest didn't show up? Like, is that like a big deal? And it's like, I've never in my whole life never had the priest show up to church. It's like, oh, so this is like a really big deal.
It's like a really big
yeah,
never.
like the priest didn't just like call in sick. Like, priests can't call in sick, which I didn't realize. And it's like, wow, this is like, that's interesting. Like, and then I think they even started breaking the. No.
Well, they had the remaining Eucharist that they could give out, and then that was it.
Yeah.
But I remember the exit hymnal, the song at the end. It was very short, but I think everyone was okay with that. But yeah, I don't know. Now where I'm in a place where I love going to mass, just to be able to start hearing the homilies and hearing how I can connect with scripture again. Mm-hmm. So thinking back to that, it was like, oh, that was really funny. Can't believe that happened. Now it's like, I'm actually kind of really bummed about that. Like I love going to mass now. Yeah. So I feel for the people who, I guess it puts you in like a different perspective of like when you're on vacation. Like you're on vacation, you're at the beach, but then you're still there to worship God. You're there to learn about God. Yeah. And then I think it was a good learning experience.
Which again, proposing that day, I did not want to be the one who woke up and didn't go to church with the family. Because again, growing up Methodist, I was like, oh, like we're going to Catholic church today. Like, time to go to church. And I think I had not a great attitude going to church that morning.
You did
but
not.
I went.
You did go.
I had a good time.
20 minutes.
20 minutes. It was the shortest church service I have ever been to. Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So after you got engaged, you're starting to talk about faith, and like you're leaning more towards getting married in the Catholic Church versus the Methodist Church. And we were talking before about like some of the things that the Methodists believe that you were like, I don't know why you believe this, and you were kind of talking to.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit about that?
So, and again, growing up Methodist and kind of, I don't really feel like I had that come to Jesus moment like in the Methodist Church where I kind of went off and then started researching this stuff myself. And I worked at the church. So, of course, I working in the church environment, I'd sit through on Christmas Eve, I sat through 4 services, and then we went to midnight mass, so 5 services. A lot of churching that day on Jesus' birthday. Happy birthday, Jesus. I guess I didn't really realize the difference between, like, a Methodist church and, like, a Catholic church, and that there were differences, because in my head, it's like, well, it's a different church down the road, and, like, we kind of believe in the same thing. Like, we're all reading the same book. Well, it's not really the same book. I mean, it is the same book, but the Methodist Bible is, I think, a little bit shorter than the Catholic Bible. And there's certain beliefs that the Catholics have that the Methodists don't have, like demons and stuff like that. So it was very interesting to kind of sit down with my pastor and kind of talk through some things where it's like, oh, like, so why do we believe in this and not this? And it's like, oh, because that's what we believe in. And I feel
there's
like
no like explanation behind it.
Well, I feel like I got some kind of explanation behind it, but I feel like talking with Father Liptak, especially during like these meetings we've had to like get married in the Catholic Church, he has a lot more solid explanation for what's going on in the Catholic Bible, where it's like, hey, like I got a question about this, and it's all like, well, this is what happened. And he drew a whole like chart.
Oh, I loved it.
I wish we could. Yeah, it's somewhere around here.
We have 3 pages, and I want to hang them up somewhere, where he told us that, and he's a relatively newer priest, but he said he has never done this with any other like couples going through counseling, where he started drawing out the diagrams of the creation of the world, like going back to Genesis and just showing like the world before like the big creation, before the 7 days sort of thing.
But it was very interesting to kind of have him like talk through like all of that, and he like literally like
we have diagrams
illustrated how the world was created and how it like continues now, and like why we believe in this and why we believe in that. And it was just very concrete, which I think in my mind, it was kind of nice to sit down and get like very concrete answers of like, this is what's happening. And, like, this is why it's happening. And these are the explanations of like why it's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you'll find with the Catholic Church, like if you have a question about anything, like the Catholic Church is going to have an answer and an explanation for it. Like,
that's my favorite part about it.
Yeah.
I have to know so much stuff, and I just Catholic Answers is my favorite website because I go on there. I search
is that a
something.
thing? Catholic Answers?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to. Yeah, that's gonna be like top of my search now. Catholic Answers, because I feel like even coming out of like some of the, Sunday masses we've been going to, in the car we have discussions on the way back from church, and it's like, wow, I got a lot out of that, and it's like, oh, I got a lot out of that too. This is what I got out of it. What did you get out of it? And we can kind of like compare notes in the car coming back, which is fun. But it's very interesting to sit down and I guess just take it in from like a perspective of, I didn't grow up in this, but I did have a lot of Catholic people around me who grew up in this. Like my grandparents were Catholic on my dad's side. My best friend across the street was Catholic growing up, and I remember, going to sleepovers across the street, waking up and maybe going to, service with the Nelsons. And they got up and they do the, what is it? You get the bread and the...
Communion.
They do communion, and I'd sit, in the pew and not do communion because I'm not Catholic.
I keep trying to get them to go up and get blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. Maybe next
We're working
time.
on it, baby steps, right? Yeah.
But even, like, it's kind of, like, interesting to, like, really think about it, where I feel like in the Methodist Church, they don't, like, the body... It's more of a representation, like the bread is the body.
The Protestant churches don't believe in the consecration, and so they don't believe in the transformation. What's the word?
Transubstantiation.
Thank you. I'm not good with.
I don't even know if I said that right, but
you did. Yes, and that was, I remember. I'm sorry.
No. It's just, and I think listened to Father Mike thing.
Father Mike.
Yeah,
Bible in a year.
He's talking about this whole thing where it's like Jesus literally said like, this is my body.
Do this in memory
is
of
my
me.
body. Like, this is it.
He wasn't like, this is a representation of
Yeah.
what my body is.
No.
Here you go. This could be me if you wanted it to be.
In theory, no.
No, like, this is my body.
Exactly.
Like, it's like, wow. Like, that's pretty cool.
That's
like,
amazing.
you guys are going up and you are ingesting Christ.
That is such a big deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, I cry whenever when I go up in line. It's like, I can't believe, like, this is happening. Like, this is so cool. I cannot believe I'm about to experience this. And it's also like trying to wrap your mind around it, where I have to, whenever I hang out with my priest, that's what, I'll bring up, like, how do I get over like understanding, like I don't understand, and coming into peace with that. And he's like, it's cool. You don't have to understand. I'm like, okay, I don't have to. Just vibing with it. That is, where let thy will be done. My modern day interpretation of that is we're vibing. We're rolling. Just roll with it. The Holy Spirit's got you. Just keep going, man.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say I'm kind of jealous. I mean, you guys get to like actually like, but I'm sitting there. It's like, oh, that's cool. Like you just, you just totally embodied Christ, like in that moment. You're coming back and we're singing a couple more songs and then we're out of here. But like, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like RCIA is up your alley.
Yeah. You know what?
Nice plug.
Yeah. Right? Yes, possibly in the near, for their future.
I think that's something, well, thinking about like converting and whatnot, and getting married in the church. I think, and I don't know, we might have to keep talking about this off podcast.
Maybe.
But we might have an update for you guys. But I feel like when we first met with Father Liptak, and he mentioned like, would we be having the Eucharist at our ceremony? And I remember thinking like, oh, well, we'll figure it out. But even if you don't receive the Eucharist, and not many people on your side of the aisle do, I can't imagine not having the Eucharist at my wedding. Like, imagine having Christ present, like, to bless us.
That's the whole point of getting married in the church, right? It's not just us getting married outside.
It's not just a piece of paper. It's like a sacrament.
Right?
And I think that is one of the things that we talked about. And we did, I think, beginning of wedding planning, we had the conversation of getting married in like a metro park.
Right. Yeah,
and it
something
was like
totally spiritual. Like,
we went and toured 2 metro parks. We, I think, almost booked a metro park. And then I got a job at the church. You started going to Methodist church, and then started going to Catholic church again. And we sat down, and it was like, okay, I want to get married in the church. And it's like, that's like a total 180 of what we're planning. Like, that's cool. Like, I'm all for it. Like, why do you want to get married in the church? And it's like, because it's not just about us.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about God. That's why we're doing this. We're not just getting married to each other. We're getting married to help each other.
To get to heaven. We're supposed to be accountability buddies.
Right?
Help me.
Help me help you help God.
My thing is, like, we currently live together, and that's something that we openly struggle with sometimes, where like I wish we would have lived separately before moving in together, but now we're at a place where let's keep going. Let's do it. We can't get out of it. But I do love like thinking that, and I don't think I would have thought of this if we hadn't lived together, but like in theory, yes, we could, like thousands of people, we could live together, we could sign a marriage contract, and then, but why are you living
contract?
Exactly. Why, or certificate. Yeah, but like, what are you getting out of that? What are we doing? I feel like getting married in the church, it's just so much more meaningful. And you're there, like, I need you. And full disclosure, we almost didn't go to midnight mass because I couldn't find what to wear.
Oh, yeah.
And I was stressing. And the man who is not even Catholic is saying, like, well, I'm going to go. Are you going to go? I'm going to go without you.
You're going to make me go to Catholic church by myself on Christmas? I was like, I think this is a pretty big day in, like, the Catholic church, right? I was like, I don't think God cares if you wear sweatpants to midnight mass.
I did not wear sweatpants.
She did not. She looked very nice for midnight mass, just so you know. But, it was like, I don't think God cares what you wear as long as you show up, right? And we sat in the kitchen, I'm like, well, it's like 11:20. We better get moving because, like, it's a 20-minute drive there, and I want a good seat. And it's like, well, I don't even know if I'm going. It's like, well, if you're not going, I'm still going. Like, car's leaving soon. Yeah. So
I love it. I love thinking that I have someone that's there to help me, and then also even, thinking of ideas on how to help the homeless or help the hungry or just helping others in some way, like pitching ideas on something. I work in downtown Cleveland, so that's something that you're experiencing on a daily basis. But just bringing up ideas of, this is like an issue for me. What do I do? What do you think Jesus would want me to do? And I feel like us getting married in the church, it's helping us to keep God in the center of our lives, and that's where He should be. Like,
Yeah. I mean, going for that, like, after becoming more involved in our faith, it's just pushed us, like, to do things that I would have never thought we would have taken the business to, like starting this podcast, being Eucharistic ministers, starting lecturing, like being involved in the church, like taking action on that. And it's just because we're growing closer in our faith, and it naturally leads in those directions anyways.
It's kind of strange to me, like, I guess going to church now and praying, before bed, praying at dinner time and all that stuff, where, like, I mean, when we got engaged, a week after we got engaged, I lost my job. We were still living at my parents' house. The apartment was still getting finished. And now, like, to be here, start going to church, and like praying to find a job, finding a job, and realizing that you like kind of took this path that like God wanted you to take. And like maybe you didn't have a job for like a reason to like kind of get through some stuff you needed to get through, or like focus on certain areas of your life you needed to focus on, or get a 2-month-old puppy and learn how to take care of something so you can take care of yourself, before you get married. It's just interesting to see kind of how things play out, and like realizing that like there is a path.
Yeah.
And like whether or not you want to be on the path, you're going to be on the path, because that's just God's plan. It's not really up to you.
It even happened today. Like, well, when I was at the gym, I finally hit a rep that I did not think I was gonna hit, and I remember just praying, just doing a quick like sign of the cross, and I remember thinking like that felt good. Like I feel good to be expressing my faith, and I am so sad thinking at the past about feeling like any bit of guilt or like shame in expressing my religion, and like being ashamed of being Catholic, and that leading me down the path that I went on. And I feel like you're right. Like you have to experience these things. Like God brings these things into your life so you can experience them, but you can grow from them. I think, what was it? Evan Almighty. I think when Morgan Freeman's, he's acting as God, and he said something, and I thought this was really cool, and it stuck with me. But he asked a question where I was like, do you think that when you pray for patience, that God will automatically make you more patient, or will he give you opportunities to become more patient? And I love that. And now all of a sudden I'm praying for, please give me these opportunities to do this. Let me be the object that you work through. Like, it's starting to make sense. And it only took like 27 years, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
So didn't you have a story about midnight mass though?
Oh my gosh, midnight mass was fantastic. I mean, working at the church for Christmas Eve, the Methodist church, how many? It was 5 services, 4 services, 5 services. I ran their live stream, so I had to be there.
So you did 5 at the Methodist church, and then midnight mass,
and then Catholic? Came home, made the decision to not go to bed, and drive to midnight mass at 11:30 at night. Yeah, midnight mass was fantastic. I highly recommend to any of you Catholic goers.
If you haven't been to midnight mass,
if you're Catholic, you should probably do that. But
even if you're not, it's amazing to
someone
experience.
who's not Catholic that literally spent all day in a Methodist church and going through. Oh my gosh!
I think
it was a completely different experience than the 4 services or 5 services I did at the Methodist church. And I went in with the mindset that, like, hopefully this is going to be different, but, like, we're here. Like, this is the obligation for the day, and we're making it. And you went to church that morning, too, right?
Well, yeah, just like a lot of people, I'm sure, with Christmas falling on a Monday, and then the whole, like, Sunday obligation.
Yeah, there's no 2 for 1.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
which
can you double dip sort of thing? No.
Which is what the priest said, I think, the week before. And it was like, hey, all you guys, like, make sure you come in the morning, make sure you come like in the evening, because like they're 2 different things. Like,
but, I mean, that's the beauty of Advent, though. Like, I love the separation of celebrating the third Sunday of Advent, and the fourth Sunday. Yeah, thank you. Getting my wires crossed talking about the Methodist Church, the Catholic Church, and but I love the fact that we were able to celebrate. I think I went on Sunday. I'm not sure what day I went on. One of the days before Christmas, but celebrating the last Sunday of Advent, and just still taking in that time to look back on what Mary was going through, what Joseph was going through, that time period, why they were traveling, and just really taking in the moment of Advent before celebrating the birth of Christ. Like that, I really appreciate how the Catholic Church takes Scripture. I mean, everything's rooted in Scripture. I love that. Whereas, there are other religions that might not be so on the same page.
But anyways, midnight mass. Let's get back to the topic at hand.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Midnight mass. Oh my gosh, there's so many. Oh. First of all, it was a packed church, which like that place is huge. St.
Basil's.
Basil. I keep calling it St. Basil, like St.
Right
Rosemary.
Saint,
yeah. St. Basil. Absolutely packed for midnight mass. The choir was out of this world. I don't think anything I've ever heard before, like in a church, which was so cool to hear. And then they had 2 priests, a deacon, and we had like the superstar service. And I feel like it was just like loaded with like the Holy Spirit. It's like we have all these holy men sitting up here like doing their thing on Jesus's birthday. Like, what a great day for Jesus to be born. All these people came out. But like, yeah, it was just incredible.
It was
so
great.
cool.
After every service we go to, like if Father Liptak, that's the priest that'll be marrying us, if he's presenting, when after mass we'll go over and just like say thank you and hi and all that stuff. And so as we're leaving, like we're going down like a processional line of like saying like thank you to Father Ryan, thank you to Deacon Dave, and then there were like these 5 seminarians.
You said it, yeah. You got
Hey,
it.
there we go.
5 times. But you see all of these men up there and like on their path to God. And so we're thanking them and we're all leaving. And Father Liptak, he mentions, to Michael, what was it? What did he say?
It was something along the lines of, well, if you want to like join the right side or like join the other side. And Shannon thought he was talking about joining the priesthood and not like becoming Catholic. And we left the church.
So I was saying like,
Yeah.
no, he's taken. He's already spoken for. I'm like,
we left the church. I was like, you understand he was talking about me becoming Catholic.
I was saying like, I can't
Like-
believe he wants you to become a priest. Like,
I was like,
no.
I think you totally missed what Father Liptak was trying to do.
So we meet with
Like,
him in like a couple weeks. So can't wait to
Yeah.
bring that up. So, hey, a little miscommunication. We're fine. We're getting married. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, it was a good time. It was a good way to begin Christmas.
good way. Oh my gosh, we overslept for Christmas too.
Oh yeah, of course.
Not because of
Midnight
midnight mass, because somebody hit the snooze alarm, me, and then turned off his alarm because that's not important on Christmas. But,
No, you were up early on Christmas.
You have to be.
do you have to? I like hit the snooze twice and
6
alarm
a.m. He was
No,
like,
I'm
it's
like,
Christmas. We're
let's
waking
go.
up.
Oh my gosh.
We also had 8 a.m. mass in the morning that we had to go to.
Oh.
And we went to
Yeah.
4 p.m.
Mm.
So
Okay.
it was like, we weren't out at midnight.
Yeah.
But
I wanted to open presents
Yeah.
too.
Yeah?
That was a big.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
The presents are good. Yeah, presents are fun. But
Presents on Christmas?
What? Is that really the point of Christmas?
Yeah.
Can we establish that right now?
I wanted to get them open so that we weren't late for mass.
You couldn't
So I
open
had
them
to wake
after
them up.
mass?
Because then you're sitting
I
there
couldn't
thinking
wait.
about it.
Wow. Now, what would Jesus think about that?
Oh, jeez.
As a kid, I was always the one that would wake up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock to open presents and probably just annoy the absolute out of my parents. Because my dad probably just woke up and got the presents downstairs and it was like, oh, like Santa came. It's like, yeah, we know he came. Like Santa came, he dropped off the presents. Go back to bed. Like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You don't need to open your gifts right now. Yeah. And,
Oh my gosh. That's funny. You're still
my
like
my
that,
parents
though.
probably prayed for patience that day, and that's what they got. Yeah. An opportunity to be patient.
No, I love your guys' story, and just
thank
I
you.
can see the grace that God's putting on, specifically on you.
Yeah.
I just can feel it.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Is
why
it
you're so
showing
fun to
again?
be around. You're a little sparkly. That's why there's little glitter bits everywhere. It's
Oh,
not
yeah,
because I
that's it.
dropped my glitter makeup. It's because the Holy Spirit.
Holy Spirit.
Yes.
Yeah. The Jesus flakes. Yeah.
What the heck?
My fiance.
What a catch.
Right.
Yeah, I'd say.
No, but it is very evident. We're joking
thank
around,
you.
but it is very evident.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, that's
for
nice.
sure.
For sure. I mean, just in the relationship in general and how it's brought you closer. Like, you wouldn't even think. You were saying, like, I was so far away, and
yeah.
then somehow it just...
Not at all. I love that we've been experiencing, I've been studying more into the faith, and you're learning right along with me. It's like
it's kind of fun.
Kind of like a 2-for-1 special. Like we're both studying these
It's the
things.
BOGO deal.
I love talking
buy
about.
one get one Bible.
I love talking. I love talking about like the saints. I love growing up. That was a huge thing for me. It was like studying the saints. And just talking about like, so Saint Lucy, like she's amazing.
Which
like,
Methodists don't have saints. In case you don't know,
That's crazy.
we don't believe, we don't. So like she was talking about saints, and so like, well, like I'll pray to Saint Matthew because like you're searching for a job, and I'm like, that's great, but like, what do you mean? Like, who is Saint Matthew, and why are you praying to this man? Like, don't you pray to Jesus?
Like, and that's the thing that we had to work on when we first started. When I started becoming more vocal about praying, the whole concept of like, you can pray with your friends, right? So why can't you pray to a saint? Why can't you pray to someone who's been blessed by God, who has that grace that can intercede for you, that can just help you out? Like I'm not worshiping them. We don't worship the Holy Mother, but she knew Jesus pretty well. Jesus loves his mother. Might as well talk to the woman who was amazing and so, I want to say perfect. I mean, she was like the new Eve. Like this woman, what harm is going to come from saying, hey, I am really struggling right now. How should I move forward? Can you please intercede for me and just talk with your son? Because I really need his help right now. I mean, yeah. Saints are pretty cool. Yeah, you know.
A little shortcut to Jesus.
It would be nice though if you did get confirmed, so that you'd have another name. You'd have your confirmation name, so that growing up, my mom.
Could I pick Michael again?
You
be
could.
Michael,
you
Edward
could.
Pace.
Actually, the funny thing is, when I was getting confirmed, I wanted to pick Michael as my confirmation name after Saint Michael.
Awkward.
And of course, I did not go down that route. My mother preferred that I go for a female saint because I'm a woman, and so we changed that. But I love growing up. My mom, because of course yelling out like our full names, she would have to really get used to our confirmation names. So it was always Shannon, Mara, Mary, Elizabeth, Enoch, and like my brother, you know, Patrick, Forrest, Xavier, Enoch, and like when she's throwing out your whole name, oh, you're really in trouble.
When the confirmation name comes out, you start running.
Exactly.
Yep.
So we need to get you a confirmation name.
Oh, that
too.
way I know when you're really angry. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, that's
Better
it.
start praying. Confirmation name came out.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey though. I mean,
has.
like
It's just starting too.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And again, thinking about when we met and like we weren't going to church or we weren't doing anything and we were just hanging out.
I think we were just getting by. That was the life. I felt like
there
really wasn't like purpose in my life. Like I was just living to get a paycheck and then hanging out with friends maybe, but not looking to outwardly see what we can do or what future we could have. Yeah. And now we're
getting married.
Yeah, we're getting
That's
married. We're trying to figure out our future. And yeah.
Well, it's already figured out, right?
Yes, we are getting married.
Yeah.
July 20th.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Let thy will be done. Just keep riding with it. Just go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I can't wait to do an episode in like a year or two when you went through RCIA.
Yeah.
And you're confirmed and everything.
Yeah, they are gonna hate me.
Oh,
I have so many questions.
They're gonna do what Father Liptak says whenever we say something that might be, you know,
Oh, that's
off tilt.
interesting.
No, he laughs and says, "Oh, that's beautiful."
Oh, that's beautiful. That's what he says. Oh, that's beautiful.
Can you tell them what you referred to the tabernacle as?
Oh, the holy time capsule.
What the heck?
Yeah, because they put the bread in it for the next day, and you open it like at a different time.
Still Jesus.
I'm sorry. Yeah, they put the body in the holy time capsule. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one at St. Basil.
Basil's.
The one at St. Basil's. It's like I don't know how to say it. Looks like a time capsule.
It's
but
a
like,
beautiful tabernacle.
It is. It's a very nice tabernacle.
It's very ornate. It's your.
And you
it's a
lock it
tabernacle.
up, and you can open it when you can open it next, just like a time capsule. Yeah.
So there you go.
It's better than the holy bread box.
And that is true. That's what my aunt used to call it. She would be like, "What, the bread box?" I'm like, "Okay, thank you, Aunt Trish. That's okay." All right.
Yeah, I guess one more question from like that standpoint is like, what are some things in the Catholic faith that you're like really surprised about, that you're like, whoa, that's weird, or what the heck is that? I've never seen that before.
I don't think there was anything that like really surprised me. What? You're giving me a look like I know and you should know.
I think maybe if you want to touch on communion, the difference between Catholic communion and like when Methodists practice communion.
What do you mean?
Where like in Methodist church they would like have like the little cups of like juice and bread.
Oh yeah.
Compared to what Catholics do.
Well, that didn't really surprise me. I guess like coming into a Catholic church and you guys do the cross and get down on one.
Genuflect.
Is that what it's called?
Yes, it's called. Yes.
I had no idea. I just learned something new today. I don't even need Catholic people. I got you. What was that word?
Genuflect.
Genuflect.
Yes, when you genuflect.
Okay. Well, we don't do that. We just sit down.
Which is very weird. Like, I feel like I want to, though. Like, when I go into a church, I feel like you have to make the sign. Like, you have to make the sign.
So much so that, like, even in my everyday life, like, I feel like I need to genuflect during random things.
Yes.
It's just like, oh, I should... Wait, no, I don't need to.
You don't need to. It's like when you get into,
weird.
like, the movie theater, and it's like, you're, like, scooting through, and it's like, nope, not here. Not right now.
So, like, I guess, a shock to me is, like, I don't want to say how casual the Methodist church is, but also like how casual like we go in with our coffee and we like hang out, and 10:30 rolls around and you kind of mosey around way into the sanctuary, and it's not like we do the sermon and we talk about stuff, and then you kind of just like meet up for cookies later and you chit chat and then you make your way home. Catholic church is, I feel like, a little bit different than that, where you show up and it would probably be frowned upon to have coffee in the pews, and it's a lot more structured, which I think is important to some people, and definitely important to me because structure is important. It's just, I guess, a little bit of culture shock too. Where it's like growing up in, I don't want to say a casual church, but like growing up in a church where you could like just kind of, well, I wouldn't say walk in halfway through service, but like probably wouldn't be frowned upon to walk in halfway through service, to like also going into a Catholic church where I feel like if you're not there on time, like they would totally lock the doors on you and you would not be able to come in halfway through service.
No.
I mean,
but like
from
you definitely would feel a lot more awkward going
yes, you
in.
do.
Yes.
Like coming from a Catholic family where you have 5 kids and you're trying to get everybody dressed at the same time, and you like show up like 5 minutes late and you're like in the back waiting for them to stand up.
Yeah.
And then you go.
There you
go.
Which I went to the bathroom halfway through like a mass a couple weeks ago, and it was like I kind of just sat outside and I totally waited for everyone to stand up so I could sneak back in, and I'm like, how do I get back in there? Everyone's like kneeling down praying, and Shannon's just kind of in there by herself, and like I don't want to leave her there for the rest of the day. Like, I'll just wait. And I like, they had the speaker above me, so I listened to what was going on, and then like as soon as I saw everyone stand, I just like really quickly went in and sat down next to you. But yeah, so I guess not really like surprised, but like just noticing tiny little differences, and I guess adapting to these tiny little differences. And then also like on adapting to tiny differences because I was still working at the Methodist church at the time. So it's like we were going to 5 p.m. mass.
5 p.m. mass. Yeah.
So I'd work all morning, live stream the 2 services. We had a 10:30 service and a 10:30 service and an 8:30 service or 8 o'clock service. And I'd get out probably around 11 o'clock or noon and come home, and then we'd go to mass at 5 o'clock. And yeah, it wasn't hard, but I mean, it's definitely a lot of church in one day, which I think at one point I was sitting there and I'm like, man, I'm just churched out. Christmas Eve, I was definitely churched out. And I'm like, I feel really bad for saying I'm churched out because it's not something you should be, like, saying out loud. But, like, wow, I'm, like, so churched out right now.
But then I feel like for the Christmas Eve Mass, I think, sorry, not Christmas Eve Mass, but the Christmas Eve services, something that I noticed, because, well, I was volunteering with him throughout when you were working the live stream, hearing the different Bible verses, how they're translated into, like, the Methodist Bible compared to the Catholic Bible, and how just certain words that are used and how you depict people. And I just did not feel like our Blessed Mother was respected as much. It just felt like, oh, she was just a woman and she just gave birth. And then you take this in, like, throughout the entire day, you're hearing, okay, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. And then you go to the midnight mass and you just hear how beautiful I feel like it's described. It's really hard to swallow. I feel like we have such a higher respect. And I think that can definitely be misconstrued. People can interpret that as we're worshiping Mary, or we're worshiping the saints, where we're giving respect to them, we're hearing their stories. And it's just, I feel like that's something different. Like, that's a juxtaposition that I've picked up on from seeing the two churches in action.
I think what I'd like to do is meet up again and really do some research into the Methodist Church and, like, do a comparison episode where it's like, we're all Christian, right?
Yes.
We're under the same umbrella or the same tree, but we're just a different branch than, like, I feel like Catholics almost just the tree.
We're from the roots.
Catholic people are just the tree, and we're just like a branch off the tree that maybe turned into a tiny little tree next to the tree, and we're just existing. But it's like to do, like, a comparison between both churches and really find out what the differences are, and, like, why certain things are different than other things, and how we came to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I really liked what you were saying before of, like, researching who founded this church, who founded this church, who founded this church, who founded the Catholic Church. JC himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Why not get it from the source? I have something I struggle with that I've learned in, like, my reawakening of my religion. Ooh, I like that, reawakening. I have found it so important to read into, whether, like, I'm looking up an article or looking up a video, which thank goodness YouTube is around, because when I am struggling to figure out how to, like, pray a rosary on my own, I can, like, put on the one with, like, the friars, and they'll be praying a rosary and I get to pray with them. It's great.
Also, the Hallow app is really good.
Oh my gosh, I have the Hallow app. It reminds me every day to do the rosary, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta do this right now. Okay. Yes, great shout out. But my thing is, like, I'm so glad we have this technology nowadays, where growing up and, like, possibly in, like, different, like, branches of Christianity, it's more like opinion based, where with Catholicism, and I know we've dabbled in this, like, throughout, it goes back to the source. It goes back to the Bible. We have all the answers are in the Bible. They're in the Catechism. Whereas, like, when I started, like, the big issue, one of the issues that I had, and we do not need to dive into this, but when I was, like, in college, one of my issues was, why can't nuns lead a mass? Why can they not, be able to hold that title? And I just started, like, Googling that, and I would get these opinions from not a priest, not someone in my religion, someone with their outside perspective, and I would use that to inform myself and, like, shift my perspective. Whereas nowadays, I feel like with the Hallow app, or with, Father Mike Schmitz and all the other amazing, like, priests, or even our priest, our parish priest, having people to go to talk about these questions with, it's so nice. And I feel like I did not value that at all growing up. Like, I did not recognize that these people, they have a lot of information, and you need to know that information. So let's get talking.
Yeah.
Well, it's also kind of nice to, like, if you have questions, like, there are answers.
Yeah.
And knowing that there's answers to the questions you have, I think definitely helps me in, like, the journey of trying to figure out what it all is. Because, I mean, coming from a place where I feel like if I asked a question that maybe you got maybe you got an answer, or like, oh, it's just.
But it could be like,
yeah,
not,
like,
It's maybe,
oh, well, it is what it is,
Yeah.
or like, blah blah blah. To like, you can ask a question and just straight up get like the answer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and these are the resources to back it up. If
Yeah.
you want to do your own, if you wanna look at
APL
it.
cited.
Exactly.
We have all these sites for you, and you can go check it
Yeah.
out. And paragraph 2 in section 5,
If you're interested.
yeah. Just in case you were looking.
Yeah.
But it is true. Like, it's a little specific, but like, it is like that, which
Yeah.
is crazy.
Definitely. What is I forget what the term is for there is a priest or there is a holy man who
The Pope.
He is a holy man.
I'm trying to think of there's a title that someone holds, and they put it in like books that are approved by the church, essentially. Like, it's talking about religion or it's talking about scripture and it's explaining things, and there's a person with a title who goes through and they'll mark like, that this checks out, this aligns with our teachings. I don't know what it's called, but my mom swears by it. I love it. But all the books growing up that I would have, if it was about like religion or philosophy or something like secular, my mom would always ask, like, well, check to make sure that it has this like annotation in it to make sure that it's
the JC stamp of approval.
essentially. Yeah. I'll figure it out. I'll get back to you on it. But that's when always like reading, like understanding like this book or going into like why we pray the Hail Mary, something like that. You have someone that is in the faith that can explain it through a biblical standpoint, that isn't someone just coming in saying, well, this is what I think, sort of thing. It's someone with the background. Which I feel like is so important nowadays, because it's not just, well, my opinion. This is what this passage means to me and my life,
My
right
interpretation
now. And then
of
you're
it,
teaching that to like your congregation, and I feel like that can be very misleading, right? But yeah.
And I think with marriage prep, you guys are getting a taste of what spiritual direction is. So I have a spiritual director, and I kind of I take notes of things that happen just throughout. We meet every once a quarter. So every quarter I'm taking notes in my phone, just like standout things or little, maybe I have a random question that I can't find the answer to. And I just talk to him, just a priest in a room. And it's just like, let's talk about this, bro. And so I think that's a cool thing, that maybe it's a seed of like, you guys, after getting married, after you're done with the marriage prep, you continue that, but in the spiritual direction route.
Well, I feel like a lot of the marriage prep is like spiritual prep too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Which is the way it should be.
Yeah.
Like, if it was,
Yeah.
let's prepare for the big day. Like, these are all of the
Yeah.
details you need to worry
Right.
about.
Yeah.
Who needs to worry about the spiritual stuff? Like, you can
Right.
worry
You're
about
only,
that
getting
later.
married in front of God himself. But yeah.
And which I guess going into this, I mean, there's definitely a difference between like proposing and getting married, just getting married, and then like proposing and then getting married in a Catholic church.
Yeah.
And
Which
it's
is
like
crazy.
Yeah, like, and my brother and his fiance, they got married in a church, but it wasn't a Catholic church. I don't know what they had to go through to get married in the church. My sister got married in the Methodist church. I'm glad we're getting married in a church now, but it was definitely something that we talked about that at the time, it was like, oh, like, you want to get married in a Catholic church? Like, I'm not Catholic. How is it? Like, can we do that? Like, is that against the rules? Like, I thought I had to be Catholic to get married in a Catholic church, which is not the case.
It's not the case.
And it's nice that I feel like maybe the past 2 years, where if my mom and dad wanted to get married in a Catholic church, which, if they would have had the opportunity to, maybe they would have, maybe they wouldn't have, but it would have been nice if they had the opportunity to where, like, now we can go to St. Basil, and they don't have any problem with the Methodists coming in and getting married to a Catholic person.
I feel like the church now, and I think it also might be because like we're older and we're not children, but I feel like the church is so much more welcoming than I even realized. And I think that also comes down to like how the media portrays the church and how people tell you to view the church, that it's exclusive, that it's you better be a good Catholic. You better go to confession once a week. You better go to Sunday Mass. You better go to weekday Mass whenever you can. If you don't meet all of these, if you don't check all of these boxes, then you're not in God's good grace.
Yeah.
You're not worthy sort of mentality. And now, like, I feel like I think especially because of, you know, us both not being Catholic at this time, I feel like,
I just think it's kind of cool because, I mean, growing up, having Catholic friends, I'd always grow up hearing, oh, like, we went to midnight mass at, like, St. Basil for Christmas, or we did this, or, like, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then actually being able to sit down in the church for something like that and experiencing what other people have been experiencing for years. It's like, I get it. Like, this makes sense. Like, this is kind of cool. Like, you guys were a little bit ahead of me, but, like, like, I kind of understand now, you know?
yeah.
But
There's
like,
a lot to understand.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
Like, it's a lot
yeah.
to take
but also
in.
growing
Yeah.
up in a community where it's like I was raised Methodist, but also kind of this stigma that, like, Catholic Church is scary. Like, it's not a scary place. Like, I feel like everyone's welcome, which is not how I was thinking going into this. Because, again, like, having the conversation of getting married in the Catholic Church, I'm like, well, that's kind of a spooky thought. Like, am I going to be able to even walk in the church? But, like, yeah, everyone's welcome. Like, come on in. You can definitely hang out. And then going to midnight mass and sitting with people, you know, where I saw plenty of people who didn't go up and get the
Receive communion.
Thank you. And realizing that I'm not the only one that's not Catholic there. Like, that's nice. Everyone's welcome. You know?
I think that's just probably the one thing that even, like, my friends growing up who weren't Catholic, like, they wouldn't necessarily want to go to mass with me. I mean, for one thing, we're up, like, all night because we're in 5th grade, and, you know, waking up at 8 a.m. to go to mass probably didn't sound that appealing at the time, right? I feel like hearing that you can't participate in receiving the Eucharist, I feel like that's something that might translate to people hearing that, okay, well, I can't do this here. I can't participate in this element in this way, but if I go to the church down the street, I can go get, like, some bread and juice, and, like, I can act like that. And I feel like that's something that maybe people feel like that's why they can't participate in at least experiencing the mass.
Or if they don't know the prayers and, like, the order of it, you kind of feel excluded.
That is definitely something going in where not knowing the prayers and not knowing, I guess, what I'm supposed to say.
Yes.
And even, like, sitting at dinner and not knowing the prayer before dinner. Like, it's definitely on the outside of the box looking in to, like, what could be. But it's also like, how hard is it to learn a couple words that you say before dinner? Like, just take the time. Yeah, just take the time to do it. But also open up the book in front of you.
Yeah, open up the
and
hymnal. It's
it gives
right
you
there.
the whole spiel for
It's
the
so
day
nice.
of what's going on.
It's read along. I didn't know that existed. My mom never had. It was all just participate, just actively be aware, don't be reading in the book. And now it's like, okay, all right, so let's
they
see,
literally have a
January
script in front of you that you
7th.
can follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's so cool that, like, we, like, strangers before this.
Yes.
And, like, you're like, do you want to pray before we eat dinner? And we know the same prayer. And it's so cool.
nice.
And, like, to have, you know, everybody sing, like, the Hail Mary together.
Yes.
It's so beautiful. Like, a bunch of people that you may or may not know.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows that there.
Yeah.
And it's so pretty to just be able to do that. Even if you go to, like, the Vatican in Rome, where they're speaking in a completely different language, the service is the same. Like, it's the same order, it's the same prayer. You probably don't, like, understand exactly word for word, but you know this is the prayer that they're praying. They're celebrating everything that you believe in, and you're in a completely different part of the world.
Right.
Like, you can go anywhere and it's the same. Like, you can't get that with any
Feels
other
like
religion,
home.
which is crazy.
It does. It feels like home, for sure. That's what, whenever I go in, and that's what I think coming back, I remember just, I was sobbing like a baby. I wish I had I wish I had a veil at one point when I went to St. James down the street, where I'm texting my mom telling her, like, I'm going to go to mass. I haven't been in, like, a year. Like, I'm going to go. I'm going by myself. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I will do this. And I go. And I remember just sitting and like there's this beautiful, like it's a huge church, and I'm just sitting in the back and there's like a pillar, and I'm like hiding behind the pillar in a way, and I'm just like crying because I know like the verses they're singing, and I know like, okay, the priest is about to get up to like recite his homily, and like just remembering like those traditions, like that is so nice.
Yeah.
And it no matter where you go, it's like there's an Irish song where it's no matter where you go, or no matter where you go in the world, you'll find an Irish pub. Like, it's a great song. But even with this, where it's like, no matter what Catholic church you go to, like, you will be home. Like, Christ is there. You will find that community if you just open up your heart. If you're willing to do it, God will provide. Just walk in the door. You gotta walk in the door. You gotta genuflect and sit down. That's it.
Genuflect.
Tried popping that in there for
Yeah,
you.
there you go. Thank you. I like that word. That's a fun one.
There's a lot of fun words.
Yeah.
I can't really like. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but like I know there are.
They must not be that fun. I'll tell you if I hear any. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This was really good
Yeah, it was
conversation,
really
though.
awesome.
Oh, good.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys laughed as much as we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for coming on and just sharing your story. I'm telling you, I can tell there's some sort of grace happening here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
And
nice.
you know, people say that, or yeah, like the Catholic Church teaches that there are seeds of truth within the different branches of religions, and I think that you're seeing that seed really is kind of like leading you towards the Catholic faith.
That big
Yeah.
tree. Center of town.
Going back to the root.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
for having us.
Of course.
How fun.
Mhm.